So, Libra is my rising sign and my Lilith sign, and a lot of people in my family have Libra placements as well. So, I'm very familiar with this energy, and yeah, I'm just gonna get right into it. So, Libra is the 7th sign of the zodiac, and the Libra constellation itself originates out of the 7th house. The 7th house represents your relationship with the legal system, your marriage or marriages, your one-on-one relationships, and people that you find that you gravitate towards in a one-on-one kind of way. And the 7th house also represents how you handle your contracts that you must sign on. So one of the colors that is associated with the sign of Libra is royal blue, and a lot of people sign their legal contracts in blue ink. Like, Libras usually get the reputation of being a sign that's associated with love and harmony and like really feel good things. But Libra is a sign that is very much associated with very serious matters. Contracts that you're in, things that you have to compromise yourself for. And Libra is a sign of self-control. To give more context to this, Libra is represented by the scales. The scales are the only inanimate sign in the zodiac. All of the rest of the 11 signs are represented by either an animal or a human or some kind of creature. So Libra being represented by the scales and being a sign that has a lot to do with one-on-one interpersonal relationships, think of how a scale actually works. Libra teaches us that balance does not necessarily mean equality. A scale, so let's say you have something on one side of the scale that is like 50 grams, and then you have something on the other side of the scale that is 10 grams. Obviously, the side of the scale that is 50 grams is going to be heavier because that shows that the scale is working, it's balancing. Even though these two things are not equal, there's still balance. And this translates into how Libras approach their relationships. Libras aren't necessarily seeking equality in relationships. Libras are seeking balance. They're seeking harmony. Because think about this. If you had, instead of objects on a scale, let's say you're putting two people on a scale who are trying to be in a relationship together. And this doesn't even have to be like a romantic relationship. It can be a business contract, a friendship, a work associate, just two people. If you had two people who were exactly the same and exactly the same weight and they were ultra heavy, and you tried to put each of them on the scale, the thing that's in the middle of it would break. So Libra understands this kind of give and take dynamic. Like, I don't have what you have, but I like that you have it because it completes me. And in turn, it balances out our relationship. I think of Libra as a sign of homeostasis and whatever you have to do in order to reach homeostasis. By ourselves, Libras are usually very unbalanced, even though this is a sign that's associated with balance. Libras balance ourselves out by our relationships. And so you think of homeostasis, like if you're just sitting there alone and you have a dysregulated nervous system, you seek out relationships that complement you and in turn balance you out. Libra is a sign that is very associated with other people because there's 12 signs and 12 houses in the zodiac. Libra is right in the middle. The first house represents you. Like Aries, the first house is you, your natural self. Libra is the opposite of that. Libra is the other, the person you are the person you meet as a mirror for yourself. Libras are usually very self-controlled and strategic about social interactions. A scale must work perfectly, and if a scale is defected, what do you do with it? You either fix it or you throw it out, because it's an inanimate object. A lot of people, you don't have a deep connection to a scale. You have it for its usefulness. So what does this do to the Libra mind? Because Libras are living people with emotions and thoughts and feelings. So Libras actually have a fear of being discarded or replaced. And Libra comes from the 7th house. The 7th house, along with it being marriages and contracts and your interpersonal one-on-ones, the 7th house is also your shadow self, the side of yourself within you that early on in childhood you expressed naturally, but it was socially rejected by authority figures. So as you get older, this is the side of you that you start to reject in yourself as well, because you learn that this side of yourself has cost you relationships. It has cost you the harmony that was in your life. And in order to restore that harmony and to be able to have more balanced social relationships, you then you de-identify from this side of yourself. And since you reject and don't like this side of yourself, if you see it in others, if you see someone walking around and embodying those traits, you're automatically going to notice that person. There's going to be like an automatic recognition. They're going to act as a mirror for you of the things that you have decided are socially unacceptable about yourself. So we're usually fascinated by people who have planets in our 7th house. For example, my 7th house is in Aries because I'm a Libra rising. Early on in childhood, I learned to hide and shrink the side of myself that is aggressive, impulsive, loud, kind of like a baby screaming for its needs to be met. That's Aries. I rejected the side of myself that rams into people head first and is always ready to argue and stand my ground and assert myself. I learned in my particular environment, I learned that was unacceptable and that would lead to punishment and social rejection. So instead, I learned to let all of my more Libra traits rise to the surface and be readily noticed by other people, because that's the side of myself that has allowed me to have more balance, more harmony, more ease in my life. So with Libra being a sign that I associate with homeostasis, tie all of this together and see how we usually seek out people, or we secretly desire people to be in relationships with who have planets in our 7th house, because they're balancing out the side of ourselves that is still there and it still needs to be acknowledged and fed. But a lot of the times we meet this need by being in relationships with people who are seemingly the opposite of us on the surface. And this is what gives relationships depth, is that we're meeting somebody who embodies things that we keep repressed about ourselves. So there's like an automatic intimacy. And on the dark side of this, this is usually why we see people with planets in our 7th house as our enemies at times. Because if we are still rejecting that side of ourselves and we're not able to accept it, we're going to hate it in others. we're going to think it's like, we're going to be disgusted by it, and we're going to like, but there's still going to be this like pull to them. So there can be a lot of tension in this kind of synastry. Okay. So I'm going to talk about the planets that are associated with Libra now. So Libra is at home in Venus, and Venus is usually seen as a feminine planet. It's things that you like, things that you appreciate, things that stimulate your senses in a pleasing way. It's related to your taste, things that you find stylish, music that you like, just things you like, things that make you feel good. So with Libra being at home in Venus, this is usually seen with how Libras are a pinnacle of beauty. And this is a cardinal sign. So the beauty in Libra is usually very noticeable. It's in our words, it's in our movements, it's in our style, and it's the way our gaze kind of hits you. Libras are usually very beautiful to look at, even if they're not like super physically attractive. Libras usually just have this air about them. They're intelligent, they're refined, we have manners, we have charm, we know how to handle social dynamics with people. Usually, like, we develop this as we get older, especially. And people desire to be in contracts and relationships with Libras because of how we make them feel. Like, remember, this is a sign that's associated with one-on-one interactions. Like, all the air signs are associated with socializing. Gemini is more of like how you socialize with your cousins and your siblings and your local community. Aquarius is how you socialize with large groups of people and people who are online, people who are involved in social movements that you are also involved in. Libra is your one-on-one interpersonal relationships. And people like Libras because we make people feel valued. Because again, this is Venus. We make people feel seen in a one-on-one way, and we balance the vibe of a room just by our energy. Just by us walking in, the room will, the room just becomes more Venusian. So if a Libra likes you and they want you to like them back, it's often very hard to resist them because we know how to connect with people one-on-one. We know how to persuade people. We know how to seduce people. We don't seduce people in like a Scorpio kind of way, like a raw, sexual, passionate kind of way. Libra seduction is more mental. It's intellectual. We operate more from the mind. And we approach you in an us kind of way. It's not me or you. It's we. So Libras have a way of making people feel special. It's unique to the other signs. Okay, so Saturn is exalted in Libra. Saturn is a planet that is associated with restriction, delays, things that you have to wait until you're more mature to handle. It's associated with authority figures, shame at times, limit, and reality. Saturn is a planet that breaks things that are not of quality. Saturn is a planet that makes sure that things stand the test of time, because Saturn is a planet that's heavily associated with time and timing. Libras understand timing due to the exaltation of Saturn. And so you see how Libras usually have this reputation of being very graceful and suave and charming. Libras make things that take a lot of time look effortless and graceful. Even if something is stressful for us, we make it look like it's easy. And a strategy that a lot of Libras develop in order to keep our feminine Venus energy intact, and so that we don't look crazy and busted, is that if something is stressful for us at the moment, we know that we just simply have to sit back and let the universe balance it out for us. And then when the timing is right, we will proceed, and we will proceed with grace and with style. And this is a cardinal sign as well. So when a Libra enters the room, you notice them. You notice that they're like, they're the ones in the lead. They're the ones in control of this, the way things are going to go. Now, on the dark side of this, with Saturn being exalted in Libra, exaltations are basically like sugar highs. How do you feel when you just eat a bunch of sugar, or like some kind of like, I don't know, something that's can easily run the risk of like going into overdrive in your system? Like you feel high and euphoric and happy and giddy for a while, and then later, if you don't have anything else to temper it, you will crash into like you won't feel good. You'll feel sick. So with Saturn being exalted in Libra, Libras can sometimes have control issues. And a lot of control issues that Libras have are because of a lack of faith in the universe. Libra's a sign that's associated with heartbreak as well, because Libra is represented by several tarot cards, but one of them is the Three of Swords. The Three of Swords tarot card is a heart that has had 3 swords pierced through it, and it's a sign that represents heartbreak. Relationships that have been ruined. So when Libras go through harsh experiences in relationships, Libras can sometimes doubt our own judgment then, because we place relationships on such a high, we place them on a pedestal in a lot of ways. So Libras can become jaded about relationships. We can become very controlling. And Libras can sometimes lose faith in relationships, and then we just start getting with people based on money or their appearances. Libras who are obsessed with these superficial things like status and appearance and how much money you have and whatever, these are Libras who are, at the moment, we are lacking faith in the universe, and we're not trusting divine flow. We're not trusting that things are going to come to us at the perfect time. So in turn, we're actually trying to rush things. Even if we come across as charming, we are trying to subtly control and manipulate the situation. Even if it's something that we don't want, it's for the sake of control. So this is where this kind of like Venus and Saturn influence on Libras can turn unhealthy and unbalanced. Libra is a sign that it's air, so it's associated with your mind, with your intellect. Libra is a sign of choice making. Libras usually go through experiences where we start out as, we have high expectations for our relationships. We have high expectations for how we behave in relationships because we value them so much. They're our lifeline. Libras can, due to naivety sometimes, Libras get into relationships that are not good for us. And we will find a way to shrink and alter ourselves in order to make that relationship balanced, even if it's something that we're not supposed to be balancing. And then so for a while, Libras can be very hard on ourselves when these relationships don't work. And we can actually actively start making bad choices, unbalanced choices, kind of like as a punishment, a self-punishment on ourselves. Because again, this is exalted in Saturn. Saturn's actually associated with punishment and being very strict. So you see Libras, a lot of Libras, every Libra I've ever met has had unhealthy relationships, sometimes abusive relationships. Now going back to Libra, sometimes Libras are naive about relationships. Libra is also a sign that's famous for being indecisive. The Libra indecisiveness comes from us being so used to having to consider others and other people's desires in order to ensure our own survival, that Libra is kind of like when we get into some relationships and situations where we are expected to make a choice on our own behalf that we've never even been allowed to make before. Libras can really struggle with weighing up pros and cons and then making the right choice, the right investment. So Libras can sometimes invest our energy into relationships that are foolish, especially early in life, that are foolish and that we disappoint ourselves by simply because we've never been allowed to make choices in that area before. So it's kind of like we have to learn through experience in a lot of ways. So I'm going to be talking about Libras romantically. If a Libra flirts with you, we're playing with you, because Libras take on a serious tone when we're talking to people that we actually want to be in relationships with. We do it automatically. The exalted Saturn just comes out. A lot of Libras who are serious about you will let you know straight up what we want and what our personal rules are, especially when we're older. Like when we're younger, Libras may be very hesitant to be assertive and tell you about ourselves, because Libras usually grew up in an environment or a family where we had to shrink ourselves in order to appease others. Libras can be people pleasers as a survival mechanism, as a way to get our needs met. And but when you're dealing with a Libra who actually wants to be with you and we have conviction about it, you will feel it that we are meeting you as an equal in some sense, and that we're considering you as we would consider ourselves. And we'll have a tone when we talk to you. We'll have a tone like we're making a contract with you. We're not going to just like talk to you about, you're so cute. Do you want to go on a date or something like that? No. And Libras who are really about you, we will not have an egotistical vibe about us at all, because the sun falls in Libra. I'm going to describe a lot more about that in a minute, though. So a Libra who is just playing with you, because Libras have a reputation of being flirts, of being non-committal, not being serious. Yet Libras are also extremely serious when we're in a relationship that we actually want. So yeah, a Libra who's just playing with you will be in and out, will be charming and flirty, will be batting our eyelashes, and we'll let you chase us around. We'll let you have that, the thrill of the chase and all that shit. If we just want the egotistical satisfaction of being desired, because again, this is Venus. Venus is about what you desire. Libras like being desired. Well, sometimes, honestly, it's getting to the point where I'm getting really fucking aggravated with a lot of the people that desire me, because it's like, I'm a lot more serious than I used to be now. So it's like all the rest of that shit's child's play. Then again, I'm in that stage of life. So yeah, if a Libra is serious about you, we will always put our ego on the back burner for you. We'll always put our ego on the back burner for people that we are serious about, because we're trying to look into your mind. We're trying to consider what you need and what you want and how that works with us. And so we are trying to see how we can synthesize this kind of like this harmonious middle ground and balance for us both to exist in within our relationship. Libra understands that a relationship isn't just you and then me. in separation. It's us. So, like when I'm in relationships, I consider the other person's feelings a lot, and I think about the other person's preferences and how they are made, and what is in their best interest. Because when you're operating from us and not you and me, if I hurt you, then I hurt myself. If I take from you, then I am taking from myself. And with Saturn being exalted in Libra, like I've described earlier, Libras have usually experienced relationships that were broke under pressure. And this deeply hurts a Libra because our whole life is about finding harmony and balance with our interdependent interactions with other people. So Libras often become more relationship oriented with age, but we become more refined in our approach, and we developed very strict codes of ethics and astute social judgments. With Saturn and Venus being strong in Libra, our desire nature becomes very mature, very sophisticated, and we're not swayed by foolishness or whims of raw desire like the opposite sign of Aries is. We weigh up the pros and cons of our potential choices, we weigh them up on our scale, and then we choose the one that will lead to the most balance in our main relationship. And now listen to this. Take all of that information about relationships and how we relate to others, and imagine how powerful Libras are when we learn to make our main relationship in life with ourself, when we prioritize our marriage with ourself. This is when a lot of growth happens for Libras. So the sun is in its weakest position in Libra because the sun is exalted in Aries, which is the opposite sign of Libra. So when the sun enters Libra, it is in detriment. And what does the sun represent? The sun is your ego, your self-expression, your confidence, the conviction that you have in yourself and your right to exist. Think of how a lot of Aries, or people with sun in the first house, they're very noticeable. They usually have big heads. They're like, they can be borderline arrogant at times. So when you look at the sun in Libra, Libras, especially Libra suns, but all people with Libra energy, Libras can struggle with self-doubt. We can be unsure of ourselves unless we're in a relationship with something. Libras need something to mirror back to us our own self. I was studying neuroscience in college, and we were learning about mirror neurons and how we have cells in our brain that are specifically designed to look at what someone else is experiencing and then feel it as if we are experiencing it ourselves. This is where the human ability of empathy comes from. So like, for example, if you just saw somebody, you saw someone get hit in the face, on some level, you're going to feel that as if you experienced it as well because of your mirror neurons, looking at that person and then firing in a certain way. So Libras, with the sun falling in Libra, Libras usually need that other person in their life, or maybe it's not even another person. Like Libras just need something that acts as a mirror for us to reflect our own inner state back to us so that we can regulate ourselves. Because again, Libra is a sign of homeostasis and self-regulation. Anatomically, Libra is associated with the paired organs of the body, like the kidneys, the butt cheeks, and Libra is also associated with your skin, the health of your skin, the lumbar region of your spine, which is the lower part of your spine, the endocrine system, and the small of your back. Now, Mars falls in Libra. Mars is at home in the opposite sign of Aries, and it's in fall in Libra. And this usually manifests as Libras process conflict in a different way than most people do. And Libra's a sign of harmony. Libra hates conflict. It's like the opposite of what we're trying to deal with. But a lot of people with Mars and Libra learn that the way to peace is through conflict. So you meet a lot of people with Mars and Libra who are actually very argumentative. And it seems like they're not channeling their Mars energy in a normal way. Now, since this is an air sign as well, Libras usually express Martian energy through arguments, through intellectual debates. A Libra Mars is probably not going to walk up to you and like beat you up. They're probably going to tear you apart with words, like they're a lawyer. Because again, Libra is coming from the 7th house. The 7th house represents your relationship with the legal system. A lot of Libras are like natural lawyers, natural judges. And in some cases, Libras can be like drill sergeants when we're really mad at you and we're trying to like, things are not being done. Like this is a sign that's associated with time. Libras, yeah. With Mars falling in Libra, Libras can be very bossy. And again, because this is a cardinal sign. And we know this about ourselves. So that's actually why we can then present ourselves as the opposite, because we know deep down if push comes to shove, we can become that person. So this is usually why Libras usually, we have a cool, collected, almost stoic, vibe about us that we then, on top of it, we have some charm and some wittiness and, So we will tell you what to do, but we'll tell you what to do in a very charming, persuasive way. Like a Libra may come up to you and we'll have our Venus energy all about us. And we'll be like, wow, you look great today. Actually, can I make a suggestion to you about something? You should do this. Wow, you really should do this. But if we took all of the Venus energy out of it and we were just being our inanimate scale self and we were just looking at you, without the charm, a Libra would have that exact same message that we're getting across to you, but we'd say it like this. We'd be like, do it now. Do this. And we would be very demanding, controlling. So, when a Libra is coming to you being extra nice and extra, try to strip away all the sweetness from our words and see what we're actually trying to tell you. Because I guarantee you it's something different from what you're hearing. Even though we're getting the message across to you, we're just doing it in a way that is more likely for you to comply. Because again, Saturn is exalted in Libra. Saturn is a sign that's about compliance, authority, you being told what to do. So all this, Libras can get a reputation of being fake. Because Venus wants what it wants. Venus has a strong desire nature. And Libras learn that if we were to just approach somebody and be like, give me it, give me this now, do this, become this for me, people would be thrown off and we wouldn't get what we want. And Libra is a sign of strategy. We know how to finesse people. We do. A lot of people are thrown off when they actually get to know Libras and the facade comes off. Libras Libras can be the most cold and manly, unsympathetic, and just seemingly heartless people that you've ever met. If you're interacting with a Libra who doesn't care about the frills or the appearances anymore, and we have something that we want. So this is kind of why Mars falls in Libra, because Libra has a Mars has to put in extra energy to get what it wants when it's in the sign of Libra. So Libras rely on persuasion a lot of times. I read something a few years ago that said that Libra is an iron fist in a velvet glove. Like, Libras will judge you. They will be the judge, jury, and the executioner of you. And a Libra will look at you, will size you up, we might question you in some ways to see what you're really about. We'll watch the way that you move. And we're doing this from a vantage point of complete balance. So anything that you do that is off kilter or off balance, we're going to be weighing that up. We're going to be noticing it. We're going to see why. We're going to see what you're lacking. And if however you move in life doesn't mesh well with how we move or what we're lacking in our lives, then we're not even going to interact with you. We're not going to waste our time with it. Because Libra's a cardinal sign. We may let you approach us because it's Venus. Venus doesn't go out of her way to do all this extra shit to get what she wants. We sit back and we manifest it. Taurus also does this. But if you're not what we want, Libra's cardinal. We're not even gonna give you the time of day. We're not even gonna fuck with you like that. We're just gonna dismiss you. We may dismiss you gracefully, or we may dismiss you in a harsher way if you don't get the message. In a lot of cases, Libras are socially strategic. So however a Libra is presenting ourselves to you, know that we even feel comfortable doing this because we also own and accept that we feel the opposite way as well. And we become masters at balancing our emotions and choosing what to show and what not to show based on what we want to receive in return from you. So a Libra can come to you and we can present ourselves as very agreeable and very demure and almost kind of dumb sometimes. A lot of Libras have the stereotype of being the dumb blonde, even if we're not blonde. It's just like a kind of like energy that we carry. But realize that whenever we're presenting ourselves like this, it's because we're actually observing you deeply. We are actually strategizing in live time. We are weighing up things. And in our minds, if we were to let go of the facade, we'd be arguing in your face. Like, if you ever heard a Libra go off on you, like, it's some real shit. Like, a Libra will argue with you and they will get in your face like an Aries, like they're presenting a court case against you. And this is all one-on-one. So all that cardinal air energy is being funneled and channeled at you and you only. So Libras usually give people a lot of grace. And we give people, we handle people in a very sophisticated way, because we know that if we actually did just let her rip at you, it's so personal that it kind of leaves you with nowhere to hide. And Libras don't really, some Libras do, but a lot of Libras don't feel the need to do that because we don't want to disturb the existing balance and harmony, especially if we have worked very hard to create balance in a relationship. We don't want to lose that. So Libras are usually very self-controlled in the way that we communicate with people. very planned. And Libra is not going to be like, Libra's not going to be someone who just like calls you up and starts screaming at you about our feelings if we value that relationship. However, remember that Libra always has this inner lawyer, this inner, deep down, Libra is always ready to argue about something, because in some cases, arguing results in balance. And so I can't just say that like Libras are never going to fly off at you, because we might, if it means that it will ultimately restore balance. Or I'll tell you one thing, if a Libra has reached a point with you in a relationship where we feel like we are being dishonored or disrespected, and that it has impacted our sense of self, because again, this is all tying in with the planetary influences of Saturn, Sun, Venus. Venus does not like being devalued or disrespected. It's like seen as a heinous crime. Libras can get into the craziest arguments with you out of anyone. Libras can act completely insane. And this is also turned in how like a Libra will fight with you and they'll fight for you. Like people with strong Libra energy are usually very protective of people that we are in one-on-one connections with, or people that we value. So a person, someone with especially Mars and Libra, they would always be ready to defend you against other people who are trying to infiltrate within the relationship. Like even my dog, Frances has Mars and Libra, and she acts like an angel when she's with me because I'm her, I'm her family. But there have been times where I take Frances out in public with me and she'll see someone and she'll start barking immediately. She'll start barking like you've never heard her before, because on some level she senses that that person has bad energy towards me. So even animal Libras do this. It's quite fascinating. Libra's a sign that's associated with both arguments and peace, both love and war, both perfect balance and complete dysregulation. Libra's a sign that's always dealing with opposing energies. Libra is a sign that's associated with your metabolism. Any process in your body that's responsible for regulating you. So all that being said, I've touched on everything. All right, that's it. Thank you for watching.